There it is.
Welcome everyone to the Late Game episode 48. My name is Lyke, and with me, co-host as always, Destiny and Control. And joining us today is our guest Morrow. Jeff, that issue we just talked about has been fixed.
It's okay. Which issue? Do we have a new tweet?
The tweet.
Oh, okay. Good job.
All right. So anyway, let's first of all, we haven't really talked much. We did we skipped the Wednesday show last week because we did the pre-show for Legacy of the Void launching, which was kind of exciting. It was a long show, felt like a marathon, but we did it, and here we are again, back to the normal grind. Destiny, first of all, it's like Christmas for me, right? Because when we started the show, you kind of started falling off with the StarCraft, but you've been playing it all fucking week leading up to this. Like, I feel the passion restored, and I'm excited. How you doing, buddy?
Wow, I'm doing great. Just playing games. Lots of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. In Control, how you been?
Good. Also enjoying the launch of the game. Just it's coming off the heels of many, just like the last time I'll bitch about it, but just many weeks of travel, and BlizzCon itself was a 9 or 10-day gig, so just really happy to be home. And as I get home, my dogs have fleas, which is something I've never experienced in my life. And it's like, I don't know, fleas aren't that big of a deal, so it was like the vets were like, oh, it's okay. But then I gave Barristan a bath and looked at him, and he had like welts all over his body. And I had this weird moment where I was like, I'm a horrible human! But we gave him some steroids, because that's what they do, I guess, when your dog has fleas. He's been running around, puffing his chest, feeling really good about himself, and then they give him this absorbent stuff that goes in his system, which is pretty toxic and actually really bad, but it's one of the best ways to treat fleas, I guess, so it just nuked him. He's fine.
Poor dude. Well, I'm glad he's getting better. Mara, how you been?
I'm doing good, man.
Yeah?
Still enjoying Legacy of the Void a lot.
Yeah? So, do you feel any different playing the ladder now that everyone else is in it? Like, do you feel there's more competition? People you're playing against? You have better people playing against you on EU?
I felt that most of the good players were already playing late beta stage, but now it's like it's really hard right now. But you don't face any Koreans anymore, so there's that. I kind of miss that a little bit.
Okay, cool. So before we got into the show, some of you might have heard. I think I had the system unmuted, but we were talking about Dreamhack, and so Dreamhack has recently been acquired, guys, by MTG, which is the company that also acquired ESL, and there was one other organization, wasn't there?
Well,
maybe it was just ESL.
I think so.
But by having ESL, that gives them WCS, IEM, and Dreamhack, right?
It's IMG that bought Tumba and his agency, right? That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I don't think it was that.
Not MTG.
Yeah. So MTG does this. MTG is not taking operational control over from these guys. MTG is actually just they have a majority sharehold. They have a controlling sharehold in these companies. And one of the things we were talking about is that it kind of feels like it's a little, it's curious how the future is going to be, because let's say that Dreamhack innovates something. They do something different for their streams and makes it better. Rather than IEM, ESL deciding, you know what, you see what they're doing, we have to do something better than that. Instead, MTG probably is going to be like, hey, that's great, Dreamhack, here you go, ESL, you guys get this stuff, and they get to use it in theirs. So what Steven was saying before, he's like, I don't think that's going to stop them from innovating. I agree. I don't think it's going to stop them from innovating, but where one company would have innovated to outdo another company, instead, they might innovate something, sure, but that one particular item is going to be sent to them anyway. Does that make sense?
I think you have a really good point. I think it's interesting for all of esports. Like in StarCraft, it'll be interesting to see how it affects, because ESL does the IEM events and basically monopolized WCS. But WCS this year, we're not sure how it's going to go. A lot of what they're talking about is going to be a pretty big shakeup, and it's going to be different in how they execute it. Can't talk specifics, obviously, but like maybe not as big a concern in that regard. But across all of esports, like in CSGO in particular, they're battling for who's going to be like the big CSGO event, and for the same company to own both of those is a little bit weird. But I guess just dialing it back even to StarCraft, like competition. I mean, this is my just disgusting capitalistic mindset. Someone will have to set me straight. But I'm much more comfortable in an atmosphere where two companies are competing against each other for the favoritism of the fans and the gamers and like everyone in between. You use the word innovation. I think that's extremely good. But I also think just flat out the better event. Like not even necessarily innovating, but just putting things in. Like we'll pay for your travel. We're going to have a bigger prize pool, that kind of stuff. But when one company owns the two big dogs in any space, in this case gaming, I think the potential for mediocrity and just kind of, I mean, they still want viewers. That's going to be the argument. And they still want to do well as companies, right? But I think when someone's behind you, chasing you, and trying to do better than you, I think that's the best incentive.
Yeah, agreed. And do you think that, because I had a discussion with someone, I think the guy that bought, I think it was Team Titan for League of Legends. I'm not totally sure what it was, but I was talking about it. He's the new CEO, and I disagreed with the idea of those kind of monopolies. And his idea is that that's the future of esports, right? We're eventually going to have the NFL, the NBA, whatever you want to call it, where esports is all played under one title. Not necessarily every game, but the way Riot runs League of Legends, Valve runs Dota, that kind of sort of thing, where it's no longer going to be these other leagues. I mean, obviously we can do nothing more than speculate, but it's curious to see how things will go. I mean, eventually MTG might just be grabbing these, getting their feelers out there so that when the time is right, they might just dissolve everything into one big organization. So, I don't know. Mario,
One thing, the only kind of like concern that I've heard in terms of everything was I know that Richard Lewis was saying that like DreamHack and ESL are quite different from each other in terms of the kind of events that they run, whereas like DreamHack always seemed to be like a little bit more laid back and kind of I don't know, whatever other words to go with laid back, and ESL was always a little bit more professional and whatnot. And I think he was expressing concerns that DreamHack might head more towards ESL's direction and kind of lose that DreamHack flavor. Although they kind of seem to have done that ever since Robert kind of departed anyway. I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like to that point specifically, I think I almost want to call it like a micromanaging level. I don't know that MTG is going to go there. Like obviously this is all speculation. Maybe I'm 1000% wrong, but I would assume that they go to the two companies and say just business as usual, just keep going. But it's going to come down to things like, I mean, the pros of this too, let's not be so con, I guess, is like perhaps now DreamHack and ESL events will be on different weekends, which would be really good for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Because they have one company to report to. I mean, even on that level, like they still have to rent spaces, and that's oftentimes what dictates where they go when they go. But maybe there'll be a better line of communication to try and avoid more crossover, which is better for everyone involved.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, stuff like that. I think the potential is for it to be scary, but I really feel like if someone's like, Jeff, quick, you must decide, is this a good thing or a bad thing, and will we regret it in 1 year? I mean, regret it. It's not like we have a choice, but I would say we don't. I would say this just fades into the background. They both do pretty well, and we're all okay. I do, in theory, like the environment better where they're competing against each other.
Right. Okay. I think that it's going to be interesting to see how things go in the future. And I actually got a message on Skype. MTG also bought ESEA, which is one of the two big CSGO providers.
That's what it was.
So, and I think ESEA partners with DreamHack a lot to run those tournaments. Like the ESEA finals, I think are held at DreamHack.
Well, yeah, I mean, Craig Levine, the owner or co-owner or something along those lines of ESEA works in alongside ESL all the time too. I mean, I think they all work together now.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and hop into the show. Topics for today. A lot of good ones, a lot of new stuff coming out with Legacy of the Void. So we're going to talk about the launch. We'll talk about ZVX, PVX metas because Maro, I guess maybe you can comment on Terran. I don't know how much you've been watching it, but you changed over to Protoss, so we now have two Protoss today. Dreamhack Winter, we'll talk about the groups and all that stuff. Beige Straight TV running a TVT-only tournament. And we'll talk about the ladder change discussions that David Kim has started and that have been kind of ongoing since BlizzCon. So, first of all, let's kick it off just with the campaign. Everyone here, have you guys finished the campaign?
Yeah.
I have. And the epilogue.
I finished the campaign, but I haven't done the epilogue yet.
Maro?
Is the epilogue the thing that comes after or before?
After, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that.
Okay, cool. So let's keep it as spoiler free as possible. Well, let's talk about we'll do like a spoiler version a month from now. I think that's a fair time to give a lot of people a chance.
You have 1 month, people.
Yeah. So first of all, talk about the length of it. Jeff, how'd you feel about the length of the campaign?
I thought it was fantastic. It was I don't know how many hours in the end of it, but it just felt longer than Hots and Wall, and maybe that's just going off a feeling, but I thought it was very substantial in terms of length.
Okay. Steven, you in the past, you've been very critical about the way the Heart of the Swarm campaign kind of went. I don't know your thoughts.
I've always, I hated the story, the way that the story and the plot went, and I still stand by that. But in terms of like how the campaign was put together, I think Legacy of Void is easily like the best campaign that's come out so far. Like the amount of polish and gameplay and everything was just on another level. There were lots of cutscenes. Each of the missions felt, I think, pretty cool and pretty unique. The hero missions felt really cool. I guess without spoilering, yeah, I feel like the campaign played like really well. Like I think on its own, was the game 60 or 40? How much money did the game cost?
40.
Was it 40? Yeah, I think it's definitely like a worthwhile buy.
It got a lot of high ratings. I think PC Gamer gave it a 91 out of 100.
Sure.
Yeah, so
That's
I mean,
good.
again, those ratings, there's a lot of discrepancy of whether or not those are accurate. But I felt this was really good. I really enjoyed it. Without spoilers, Steven, did you feel that the story of Legacy of the Void was better than Hots?
I don't know. I think all the stories of Hots, Wings of Liberty, and Legacy of the Void, I feel like they all were pretty similar of like quality, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't have any like strong feelings like one was better than the other.
Okay.
I
guess
agree
one-
with that. Go ahead, Steven.
I was gonna say like one thing that I don't like about the Protoss. This is minorly spoilery, not really that much though. I really want to replay Brood War now that I'm almost done with the Legacy of the Void campaign. I felt like in Brood War and in StarCraft, even though the Protoss kind of had like the mysticism shit, I felt like they were a big technology race. Like they were really big on their technology and their science, and everything they did was kind of rooted in technology and science. And in and ever since like I guess Wings of Liberty, and especially in Legacy of the Void, it seems like they got a lot more like mystical. Like things are more like magic-y now and kind of in that ballpark rather than science. Like we've got like the prophecy and all that kind of stuff. I don't know, and like Amon the god and I don't know.
I could see it feeling like that. They've always been very like all about the Kala and like almost
sure.
You could almost read into it like religious commentary and stuff like that. Like they've kind of had that feel to them. But
A little bit, sure.
in general, I agree with Steven in the sense that like I think all three of the stories, and I guess I won't talk too many spoilers, but like I really don't like them, and it really you can very strongly feel, and this is like I have these kind of expectations of a game from Blizzard because I expect this kind of quality, but like you can very much so feel each storyline for the most part was written in that time and then forgotten and then picked up in the next game because there's a lot of
retconning.
Yeah, there's retconning, but there's also just like weird introductions of things that are supposed to be super huge and impactful, but they happen like in Legacy of the Void. Like the resource that becomes this huge big deal in Legacy of the Void is almost never mentioned before at all, but it becomes like the driving force that they realize they absolutely must have to complete everything. Like the story arcs of characters is absolutely preposterous, and we can't go into detail until you play. So in 1 month, let's talk about the prologue or epilogue. But my God, it's just so all over the place that it's like it's
everything.
Like
can we do like minory kind of spoilers?
What do you
or-
want to talk about? Give me a rough idea. What do you
like the interaction between. This is a spoiler. Mute. If you're gonna get like really mad, this is kind of spoiler. I'll do my best to give this unspoilery.
Let me put a tag on the thing real quick.
Sure. Okay. I'll do my best to give this unspoilery. But like the whole interaction between like the creation of the Zerg and the Protoss, and then how all of that kind of got retconned. You know what I mean, Jeff?
yeah.
To where I really didn't like that. I thought that was a really big point, and I understand they tried to make it work, but the way that those two races were created and all of that, how that was brought about, I thought that was like a really big point in Brood War, and for all that to kind of get swept aside for the other guy, I really didn't like that.
But also, like along those lines in particular, if you're gonna make a big reveal on Legacy of the Void, my expectation for a game that is called StarCraft 2, and then these are the different editions, And it's a Blizzard game. My expectation is that they roadmap the storyline 5 fucking years ago, which I know sounds ridiculous, but again, that's what I expected. And they have a plan for all 3 of them, some idea for the story. But in the third one, they're just like, oh yeah, by the way, that huge thing about why there's 2 different alien races and how they're created, like, here's actually what happened. But if you're gonna do that kind of big reveal, it should be touched on in HOTS, it should be touched on in Wings of Liberty, and maybe, and this is really ridiculous, hinted in Brood War, but that's not, forget that. I don't need that. But in StarCraft 2, it should feel like you're building up to that moment, not just like you complete a mission and all of a sudden he's like, at the dawn of time, when things were, and you're like, what the fuck are they saying right now? Like,
Yeah, real quick, I lost your cameras, like all 3 of you. I don't know what happened. If you could like click your camera button, see if it brings you back.
yeah, ours just turned off for some reason.
Okay, there we go. Cool.
And it's funny because those devices and storytelling are completely classical. They're since the beginning of time. And I know what probably happened on a practical level is each edition they were like, people aren't going to really care about the story. Like, this isn't super about the story. And they're probably right. Like, I don't buy... There are people, of course, that buy it solely for the single player. In fact, a lot of people. I'm not trying to downplay them. But for the most part, they're like, I'm playing an RTS single player. I just want to have a good time. The story doesn't ruin it for me. But I just feel like that's a missed opportunity because the story from Blizzard, which in the past has told really great stories, could have been awesome.
For sure. One thing that also irked me too, and I guess we're getting into not major spoiler territory, but I kind of want to spoiler. I felt like in Brood War, I really liked the Brood War story, so I read like the whole little booklet and everything and all the background. In Brood War, humans were actually Terran were actually really, really, really important to everything because of ghosts. Ghosts were supposed to represent like the next step of like evolution for humans, and it was supposed to put them on a level playing field with the other 2 races. Like, it was supposed to be a big deal. It was such a big deal that when the Overmind got a hold of a ghost, Kerrigan, she became like the Queen of Blades. Like, and Kerrigan wasn't, even though Kerrigan was like she was like trained from birth or whatever to be like kind of special, Kerrigan wasn't an ultra special. She wasn't a super special ghost. She was just a really good ghost. Like, ghosts were supposed to be a really big deal in the universe, and then like Terran were like completely a non-factor. Like, I haven't played the epilogue yet, I guess. So I don't know how much Rainer and all that shit is going to affect. But like in the main story of like Wings of Liberty or Legacy of the Void, Terrans are like a complete and total non-factor for everything.
No, but that's a really good point. Like, that's the entire thing. And then actually, and this is not even a spoiler because it's 10 years old, but at the end of Brood War, there's a bonus mission where you find out about the hybrid races or the hybrids. Yeah. It's just like hinted at. And that becomes the Launchpad entire story dominant thing for all of, you know, StarCraft 2. Whereas I really agree with Steven, like, the ghost thing is supposed to be a really big deal. Never again touched on even a little bit. And there's moments like that. That's not the only example where it's like meant to be really important and kind of a big deal. And then later it's just swept aside for something completely new. And it just, if you put this in a TV show, we would all roll our eyes and laugh about how the writers went on strike at sometimes, and like other times it would be like a lost show, you know, like, wow, this is a great story sometimes. But if it was a movie, it would be absolutely atrocious because everyone would come out of there and be like, what in the fuck were they trying to say? What were they saying? There was so many different things.
Morrow, how do you feel about the campaign?
Like in the beginning, I was trying like really hard to, you know, listen to all conversations and so on, like keep up with the story and all that. But the later it got into it, the new characters that you met and so on, I just cared less and less, and it all just became more and more confusing, at least in my experience. But like, I didn't play StarCraft 1, so I don't have as much, you know, history lessons and so on. So it pretty much became that I played it for the gameplay. The cinematics were like awesome and so on, but I think if there's anything that falters in the campaign, it's definitely the story, and that's coming from a guy who didn't really understand it.
So
after trying to understand it,
here comes the shill comments. But I of all 3 of them, Wings, Heart of the Swarm, and this was my favorite. The other 2, I was, you know, it was good, fun, enjoyable. But this one, the first time that I actually had like a few emotions invoked with some of the things that happened, especially in the beginning, and you know, during the journey. Like near the end, I started to feel, okay, these revelations are kind of getting just more repetitive, and it's like, okay, we got to do this for whatever, and you're supposed to feel like, oh yes, for ire. but by the time
No, as a game, as an experience, it's absolutely incredible, and it dwarfs the other two in my opinion. Like the
For
Spear
sure.
of Adun, the tech pass, the 3 different choices between units, like that variety and just the uniqueness of all the different tech pass and how fun they all are is incredible. It's way better than the other two. And the other two, by the way, I'm not a hater. I thought they were pretty good too. The cutscenes, like Steven said earlier, is very consistent. Like the difference, they stepped up their game obviously just on a graphical level with their in-game graphic cutscenes. Those are actually really decent, but they also have a ton of the ones we love, the fully rendered, amazing CGI videos. And I think as a playing experience, especially if the story isn't the end all be all for you, it's way better and it's great.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The story I really don't like, but I still at the end of all my streams was like, hey, this is fucking really fun and fantastic. And by the way, worth noting, actually hard too. I think Brutal
Yeah.
and Legacy of the Void was quite difficult. I mean, there's always going to be the 1,000 people that are like, in control, you noob. I did it in 10 minutes and it was no problem. It's like, fine, you guys are way better at single player than me, but like, for the most part, like Wings of Liberty was Stim Marines just running everything over forever. Hots was Queens and whatever the fuck you want to make, just running everything over forever. But actually, in Legacy of the Void, I found the composition to be pretty important. I found, like Steven said, the hero levels to be really cool. I thought it was very challenging.
Yeah. So real quick, we'll go around the horn one more time before we move on. Steven, I don't know what's up with Skype, but Steven, final thoughts on the campaign.
It was really, really good. Easily the best. Well, I want to say the best RTS campaign they put out, but I didn't play any of the Warcraft, so I can't really say that. But it was my favorite of every campaign I've ever played. It was really, really, really well done.
All right, Jeff.
I fully agree with that. If anyone for some reason hasn't played, I feel like the majority of our audience would have already played it, but definitely play it. I had a really good time doing it in order. I did Wings Liberty, Hots, Prologue, the game, and then Epilogue. And all our complaints about the story, I feel very strongly about. There's a couple people out there that are like, no, the story was fantastic. It's like, that's fine. Don't let our opinions detract from your experience. But yeah, I thought it was great. I guess
Cool.
we got to turn our cameras back on.
Yeah, Maro.
No, I think it was the best one out of the StarCraft ones. The biggest reason for that is just out of the sheer difficulty of it. But by having such a hard campaign, it actually makes you like you need to have a strategy, right? You can't just, like in Control said, you can't just build Marines and
Yep.
beat the whole campaign. So that's what I liked about it the most.
Yeah. Actually, one more question. I'll start with you this time, Maro. Was there any unit in there that you particularly liked that you don't get to play in multiplayer?
There's
Tons. Arbiter
there's-
is amazing.
there's
Weaver.
so many of them. I really liked the Vanguards. They looked so cool.
Yeah, they're cool too.
Which one was that one?
Are those the ones
Yeah.
that helped you aim and lock onto shit, or?
The Black Immortal that had AoE.
Oh, Black Dwarf.
Oh,
Yeah, I just think it looked really cool.
The sentry that buffs you is ridiculous.
yeah. I was gonna say that sentry that like locks onto shit and gives you bonus range and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
that thing was fucking insane.
Yeah.
I used that throughout the entire campaign. I never swapped
Oh,
off
yeah.
that
Yep.
sentry.
Yeah.
You have 1 or 2 in your army, and it's just like good fucking.
Your Dragoons have like 11 range, and it boosts the range on like your Void Rays and everything too.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
All right, cool beans, guys. All right, let's talk about now. We'll remove the spoiler tag, and let's talk about the launch itself. Jeff, and Steven, we kind of talked about this before. It was, Blizzard was going to be launching on the day of Fallout 4. Oh my God, kind of crazy. But
Yeah.
within 24 hours, they sold over 1 million copies. Fallout sold 15 million copies, right? But just looking at Legacy of the Void, Jeff, now that things have transpired, how do you feel about the launch?
I think it was as good of a launch as you could have asked for, and I have to give the tip of the hat, the whatever, all signs of appreciation and recognition that Blizzard really stepped up their game. Like they gave to a bunch of streamers things like just a fucking boatload of things to give away to people, or buttload, whichever you prefer. Which I thought was a really cool initiative. A lot of people got free stuff that way. To have it come after the heels of BlizzCon ended up being really nice. I was really worried that it would just dwarf the BlizzCon and like it would just be ridiculous. But I think we got lucky with good games there. And then post BlizzCon, Blizzard was just there. They were tweeting out. They were talking about who was streaming the game. Like they were advertising people. I hope they continue that. But that's the kind of stuff that you really, I feel like you have to feel really good about when your developer is giving that kind of support to the community and its people. And then as far as the game goes, by the way, it was as smooth of a launch as you can ask for. Like, the game went live. I think there's very little downtime. I'd be surprised if someone had a different experience. I just played immediately. The viewership bump is really nice. We've been having very healthy streams. Steven's having one right now as we even speak. And I don't know. I know I'm Mr. Positivity a lot of times with this kind of stuff, but I really do feel like it's been a great experience. I'd be very, very shocked to hear someone complain and be upset about it.
Yeah,
I guess that's why I have Steven here.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. Really, the only thing that that was ever going to be affected by launching alongside Fallout 4 was stream viewership numbers. I don't think anybody thought that it would like majorly impact like the units sold. It would just be like people watching on launch day. But and I mean I think those numbers were definitely impacted. But I mean, it's not like a huge deal. I mean,
yeah.
And for the most part, like Jeff said, like everything else, like there were a few people that made posts about like how the launch of the game went, because Fallout 4 is a buggy fucking piece of shit that a lot of people were complaining about too. So
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I was a big fan of Fallout 3, but that was my only Fallout. Didn't do New Vegas or 2 or 1. But as far as the launch goes, yeah, Jeff, that was really exciting. That when we did the pre-launch show, they actually put us in the launcher, so when people were going to it. So it was an exciting day. Maro, were you up as soon as Legacy of the Void was up on Europe? Were you playing?
No, I slept and all that. I was thinking about, waking up immediately when it comes out and just playing the campaign and getting all the viewers. But then I thought to myself, well, that's probably what everybody's going to do, so that's not a good strat. So yeah, like the launch, I kind of wish that I got like giveaways and stuff. I didn't get anything, but yeah, I was just playing the campaign. I was just having so much fun with it that I wasn't even thinking about viewer counts or anything. But now looking back at it, I think it is a little bit sad that Fallout came out at the same time, because like maybe it's not affecting StarCraft 2, like that you have a bad viewer count for the day, but the thing is that like you get like a bad reputation, right? Because everybody watching Twitch is always like, oh, this game has twice as many viewers or whatever. So then you can look back at that as the time when Fallout 4 absolutely trumped StarCraft. So that's a bit of a bummer, but other than that, it was great.
Yeah, I agree with you both. And absolutely, there are just an X number of people watching Twitch. Obviously, everyone knows that. But like, when there's like several people watching streams of 65,000 people on Twitch, like other people are just going to click on that and be like, "Wow, what are all these people watching?" And that was Fallout 4. That was those gigantic streams. And the biggest streams for StarCraft 2, I felt individually, is like Steven, I think, got up to 7 or 8 or something like that. A few other people were like 3, 4, 5, 6. So like very, very good. And obviously no complaints here. But I think if this was, I think people would agree, if this was just a pure Legacy Void launch, no other big titles on that day, probably 10, 12, 15,000 people watching some of those streams. And again, that's not the biggest deal or difference, like Steven said, but it would have been cool. It would have been cool to see gigantic StarCraft 2 streams, but that's like the only nay I think we can have about it.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, that's not really Blizzard's responsibility to kind of like look out for that. Although it would have been nice, but yeah.
Yeah. But I think that overall, the feelings are good. A lot of people are excited. Post BlizzCon, people are like, okay, we kind of see what everyone was talking about. A lot of awesome announcements were made, and the game launched, and I've been hearing a lot of positive thoughts. Steven, do you think that the game, is being well received by the community?
I mean, I would say for the most part, yeah. Right? I haven't seen like any posts like decrying it on the StarCraft subreddit or anything, so yeah, I would say for the most part, yeah.
It's been one of the most positive times in all of my StarCraft life, to be honest with you. Like the Reddit threads are like oftentimes adorably pleasant and optimistic. They're like, "Hey guys, I found such and such," and like, light joke. Like one of the bigger upvotes right now is one about Artanis getting super buff from one game to the next, which is pretty funny, and it feels really nice. Even amongst the players and stuff like that, a lot of people are hosting each other and talking about really positive and good streams. Like it's just a good feeling right now. It's awesome.
It is. It's really nice.
Has
So
Blizzard announced the one thing that actually like majorly bummed me out because it was the thing I was like most excited for? Have they announced if they're doing all those ladder changes next season, or have they given like a time frame on that yet? Or
No time frame. I think the only time frame that has been uttered is that it's going to come in a while because it's taking them longer than they thought to implement it.
right,
Gotcha. That was the only thing that bothered me because I was really looking forward to those changes on launch, the ladder changes, the
Yeah.
per race MMR and the GM master shit or whatever.
yeah, I like the. I think, and maybe I'm recalling incorrectly, but I think during the panel they said that they're shooting for season 1 for that to be released, so early next year. And I'm hoping that's the case. I hope that season 1 2016 is when that does go down. Let's go ahead and use that as a transition to talk to about the ladder changes. We'll jump to that. That was going to be a later topic, but let's talk about it. So the ladder changes, for those who don't know, one of the things they're talking about doing is combining masters and grandmaster, and what it would be is a very constant, regularly updating list, so that you have the most accurate grandmaster and masters, right? So you're constantly able to bounce in and out. And that's one of the things I always had a problem with about GM, is that you could get into GM, and once you were there, all you had to do is spend your bonus pool and you get to keep your rank, right? So Maro, we'll send it to you. How do you feel about that change? Did you follow the changes they announced at BlizzCon?
No, I looked into it a little bit, but that sounds pretty interesting. I think that's a good change because like it started with season, everybody has a lot of motivation to play, or at least if you're a Master League player, you get extra motivation because you want to get into Grandmaster. So that's when the season is as most active for like those 2 weeks or whatever. But then later on that, like, oh shit, I didn't get in. And it's like, what's the incentive to play then if you're High Master and you can't get into GM? So it's really good for those players to keep on playing.
Yeah.
There's also, if you've ever played that fucking game before where you don't get in, but you know you're close, so then you have to do that thing where you look up on like the Norse KR website or whatever, where you have to look up like where all the other masters are and how many points they have, and you've got to guess like how many you need in order to get in. Like that shit always got really annoying, but having the masters and GM connected would make that a lot less obnoxious.
Yeah, and they were talking about overall just transparency with the leagues. They're talking about adding in the system where they're putting it so that each league is going to have, I can't remember what they called them, if any of you guys recall, but there'll be like 10 steps, right? So it would be like Masters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or Bronze 1 through 10 or whatever. That's how they're looking to do it, and it kind of gives you more of an idea of where you are. It's MMR based, so you have some semblance of understanding of how you are. So if you were like Platinum, let's assume that Platinum 1 is like about to get promoted to Diamond, right? You know you're on the cusp, you're getting ready. And they're also talking about, they haven't announced it, they talked about it at the panel, is that you would go in and you might get alerted, hey, this is your promotion match. If you win this, you'll go to the next rank, that sort of stuff. So I like that idea from a growing player perspective. Jeff, I don't know how long it took you to get GM, but you liked getting...
I'm still not GM right now. I've only played 2 days.
Oh, I mean like before, like when StarCraft 2 came out?
No, I was always the highest league.
Oh, okay, well, never mind.
Actually.
Did anyone here have to grind and get up there? No? All right.
Nope.
So
Diamond,
I love that image of me though. People still, and it's meant to be a nice thing, but they're like, "Hey, congrats on GM." I'm like, guys, I know I was a bad pro or whatever, but I've actually always still been one of the best players on average. Like I'm always the highest league. I'm like, oh wow, you were GM at the beginning. It's like, yes, always.
Well, I figured that a lot of people, because it was such a different game, they had to learn it again. But I guess, you guys with that Brood War background.
I was a Brood War professional.
Yeah, no, people that came from StarCraft, even me, who has never even been like a professional, like I was always the highest ladder rank on this game, always. Anybody that came from Brood War had a huge head start on everyone else that played this game.
Yeah, real quick to answer, Philson98 in the chat, he says, how is 1 to 10 more accurate than 1 to 100? What they're talking about is that the 1 through 10, that's not in your division. That's 1 through 10 in a rank, and it's MMR based. So to go from 5 to 4, 4 to 3, you have to improve in your MMR. So
basically, it's kind of like if you've ever played League of Legends, how they've got like Silver 1, Silver 2, Silver 3, Silver 4, Silver 5, and then you go from Silver 1 to Gold 5 or whatever. It would basically be like the league system.
Yeah. And Jeff, I just wanted you to know I wasn't shitting on you. I just
it's funny. I'm not upset. It's fine. You're not alone, actually. It's just in my stream all the time. They're like, oh, wow.
Why would Jeff be mad? He's happy. He finally got GM.
Exactly.
So either way, from my expertise, the one moment in this last year of running the show that I get to have expertise, getting those steps is going to feel really good. It's going to let you know how close you really are. You don't, because when I go to Nios, there have been times I've been, I'd go to Nios and I'd be, I think I've hit number 1 on Nios going from gold to
The
platinum.
fuck is Nios? Oh, is that
It's
legal?
Yeah,
it's the website.
Yeah.
The good one.
So when I was, before I got diamond, back when I was gold, I was getting ready to get to platinum. I was like, okay, that's really shiny and nice. I want to get there. But just because I was number 1, that just meant I had had a really good streak of games, and I was able to get my points up there. But my MMR could have still been, not good enough. But then they made the ladder changes, and I got promoted. So, like, they made it so that you could, once you cross the threshold now, you automatically get promoted. So, which is nice.
Nice.
No longer have to, like, play the next rank a ton of times before you get it. But either way. So
So
ladder changes-
no more high plat, low diamond.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, no, you are either diamond or you're plat, which is nice. So anyway, let's go ahead and move forward. Let's talk about the metas real quick, and this is going to be a little freeform. We'll start with Zerg, Steven. So let's see. Let me change the title. Let's start with Protoss, since we have the 2 Protoss here. Why don't you
You
talk
just said
to me?
let's start with Zerg. What, are you changing your mind now? What the
No,
fuck?
we're
No,
starting
that's okay. No, that's okay.
Steven, we're starting with ZVP.
I'm just fucking with you.
Yeah. So
That's
talk to me
fascinating.
about ZVP. What is working best against Protoss, and what is hurting you the most as Zerg against Protoss?
I feel like if Protoss doesn't choose, I feel like they're pretty fucked. I don't know. It seems like the biggest problem with Protoss right now is every single game you always have to go Robo. Like, you absolutely have to. If you don't, then you're never all-inning or putting on any kind of early pressure because of the way the pylon shit works. If you open Stargate, like, you're droning like 4 bases fully saturated. You can walk away from your computer or something and come back, and the Protoss team will be ready to be like aggressive against you. Like, you're so fucked on your aggression. If you open Stargate, like, I don't think it's ever worth it to do it. So you pretty much shoehorn into opening Robo every game after an Adept Scout. Yeah, I don't know. And then it seems like the Zerg armies have gotten so good. Like, Ultralisks are, like, unkillable.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I feel like you can kind of do whatever you want as Zerg, and Protoss will kind of, like, always lose unless Protoss manages to get, like, a really good, like, Adept cheese or something on you. Like, I don't know. That's kind of how it feels right now.
Maro, how do you feel as a new Protoss playing against Zerg?
Well, it feels bad, man. It's just like incredibly imbalanced right now. Nobody can deny that unless you're like fucking stupid or something. So yeah, I was like trying hard to like have this Zerg nerf on some of these like ridiculous things, but
The Viper thing
didn't happen. So we're like stuck with a terrible balance right now, and that's like the only thing that could possibly make me not motivated to play right now is just every time I queue up against Zerg, I just wanna leave the game.
What are you doing right now versus Zerg? What kind of builds? What kind of openers?
Well, it's like if I'm actually serious and
Yeah.
I'm trying to win, then you need to get a Robo and a War Prism, and you need to adapt harass with the War Prism, and then you probably wanna do like a semi 3-base all in, so like half saturation or something like that. That's what I like in theory. What's probably the best thing to do. But
I feel like I've played a few games against Puck. I don't know how he stacks up against like good Europeans or whatever, but one thing that Puck does is he always takes a fast third, very fast third with like the 3 pylons or whatever to defend it, and then always goes blink stalkers behind it. And that seems to work the best of like anything that I've played, like of like legitimate losses I've had versus Protoss. Like, I've lost against like Mass Adeptal and that I don't scout, but in terms of like macro Protosses that have won, it feels like that like always opening blink stalkers seems to be a good idea, or maybe not a good idea, but the best idea right now.
yeah, the thing is, like Phoenix, like nobody plays Stargate because
It
Zerg
fucks you
already
so hard.
they have so many drones already by the time you come compared to Harvest Swarm. And Mutalisk are a bigger threat than Harvest Swarm because Zerg has more gas when the Spire is done. So
Yep.
Mutas are such a big threat that you need stock to make stalkers from the start, and you need to keep building stalkers to deal
Yep.
with like possible Mutalisk. So even though like Adepts and Immortals, Disruptor, all of these things are like really good against Zerg, many Protosses, like including myself, like we're stuck building Stalkers because we're so afraid there might be Mutalisk and it's pretty hard to scout and all that. So that's kind of one of the big problems in the matchup.
Yeah, that's one of the interesting shifts in the game that has had a huge impact. Is like you want to be out harassing a bunch, so that's where Steven's comment becomes pretty true. Like, you need the Robo to kind of do that. But at Robotech, the techs have already kind of been decided, so unless you made your first unit out of the gateway a sentry, and you're sending a hallucination at their base to see, but even then, because of the accelerated economy, at that time, unless you were already going Stargate, you're kind of out of position. Like, you still can reactively go Phoenix against that, but like Steven said, if you do that, they then can like not really commit to it, have corruptors that have some utility, or just go mutas but not go heavy mutas, and then go 4 or 5 bases. And they just have really hard answers to a lot of the things that Protoss used to like hard switch to really catch the Zerg off guard, which I think is pretty good, by the way, in general, in theory, because the game was really uninteresting when it was like, oh, he's not expecting 20 Blink Stalkers, the game's over! Like, that's not a... PvZ became pretty dumb that way. So I like that it's a little bit more riposte, like back and forth, like not just a hard all-in of sorts from Tech Pass, but it is against the Protoss in very small ways right now, because, as they said, mutas are much stronger right now because of the different economy, because of when they show up. Fucking Steven's making mutas right now. I can hear that son of a bitch. What a dirty, dirty whore. But also, like, Blink Stalkers, they are the middle ground, like the okay answer to everything, but they get shit on by a few things. Like, they cannot
like 1/1 lings. If you upgrade
1/1
that
lings,
early on.
but also like just a single volley from 5 lurkers will ravage an entire. Like, if you do a bad blink, or you engage for 2 seconds too long, and you don't lose all of them. It's not like they're all gone. It's just that they're at red health, and you're just like, holy fuck, and it's all over there. And then people are like, well, you're not supposed to fight against lurkers. Like, yeah, I know, but like, let's be honest, in a game, it happens that you walk into them every once in a while or something like that. And it's just, the damage is so hard. It's as if you walked onto burrowed banelings. Like, you feel that dump. You're like, oh, Jesus, that was stupid. I engaged the Zerg. Jesus Christ, I need to back up and make sure I can blink up into his base where his army's not, and then kill 2 buildings, blink down, and then die, only to show up with DTs because he doesn't have any overseers. Like, that's the game plan right now. So it's kind of frustrating that way.
All right. Steven, thank you guys for all. It was actually a really awesome discussion.
I still feel like one thing I would say about in all the Protoss matchups, the big problem that Protoss had in part of the Swarm, well, in all the games, that they still seem to have, it still feels like every Protoss matchup is over in one engagement. Right? Like, you have like one decisive battle and then the game is over. And that seems to still happen in all the matchups. No? From watching Total Biscuits tournament and just from my latter games, it kind of seems like...
No,
I feel like PvT is in a super awesome place. Like, it's still really hard for Protoss. I do think they're disadvantaged.
PvT?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe, I don't know.
As I was saying, I still think Protoss is weak there too. But it's a really fun, like... now that Colossus aren't the main focus, the battles feel way more interesting. Like, it's very micro-oriented. It's a lot less just A move. I think PvT is really cool. And I think with a couple adjustments, it's going to be one of the absolute best matchups in the game.
Cool.
And I love PvP. PvP, by the way, the composition's very different. I know that it can end up being like Disruptor spam, but now people are finding that all of a sudden Stargate against Disruptor spam is actually pretty cool. And then Stargate's really scary because late game Protoss Air is, very powerful. I'm just enjoying those 2 matchups pretty good. I think overall Protoss is in a bad spot, but especially in PvZ. But in the other 2 matchups, I think there's really high potential for amazing stuff.
All right, real quick, Steven, talk to me about your mirror matchup. Talk to me about ZVZ.
ZVZ is a shit show right now. The 14-14 seems to be the best opener. I try to find ways to not do that, but like a lot of the early game is just like ling bling autism. Like, it's really, really stupid. I feel like it's hopefully like it settles out like a little bit more and some macro openings become possible. But yeah, I don't know. It feels like early game ZVZ is really fucking stupid right now.
All right, talk to me now about ZVT.
I don't know. I haven't played like real like Wings of Liberty or Legacy of the Void ZVT styles yet. I still play like the Ling Bling Muta, and it seems to work. Vipers are ridiculously fucking powerful. against everything air, like too strong. Like that Viper ability is gonna get nerfed. It has to. It's too good against everything. Like Liberators get shit on. Like everything seems to die to it. It seems like Ravager Roach is really strong. If you watch like Solar vs TY at the end of Total Biscuits tournament, like that, it should have been a 4-0 and it ended up being 4-1 because of a silly game. But like he absolutely annihilated TY, and it seemed like, I don't know, some of the games, I don't know if Solar's just that much better. It seemed like there was nothing TY could do.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't really comment from the T side. We have the former T here, but he's been dabbling in the toss. But overall, how are you feeling playing the game?
This for me or more?
For you, Steven.
I mean, I like it. I've missed playing StarCraft. It feels a lot better than fucking Hearthstone. So I don't know. So it's the only comparison I have right now.
So since we're talking Terran and we don't have a Terran here, we'll segue to the Protoss through Terran.
We can talk about the other races, by the way. It's just that we are.
I've completely forgotten Terran. They have.
Maro has played all 3 races for significant periods of time.
All right. Well, let's talk about Terran in TVP. We'll kick it off with Maro. Maro, what's working? What's not?
All right. So the best thing Terran can do right now, like you still do bio all the time. Mech is still not viable, even though they have been pushing it. Cyclone is kind of a good unit, but it gets bad as soon as you get Blink or something like that. So you can open like a pretty, not normal, but I think it could be normal, is the Reaper expanded to Cyclone. Very few Terrans have been doing that, and I find it extremely strong. Another interesting development has been come up since the Liberator change that you don't need to upgrade anymore to attack the ground, is that you can actually 1-1-1 as Terran now against Protoss, which is super interesting. As a Protoss myself, I've had a lot of troubles on that one map, Ulrena, I think it's called. Yeah, I think it's just because that map is just ridiculous and its rush distance is too short to be balanced. It doesn't work in StarCraft 2. We saw that in 2010. But David Kim insists on us having 2010 maps because he wants to see races get shit on and get that confirmation again, I suppose.
Now is the time where we normally run to David Kim's defense, but I'm gonna join in on throwing him under the bus. Actually, I remember at BlizzCon we were talking. He's like, he's a I don't know if he's the one to blame, but he's like the map pool is going to be very interesting at the beginning of Legacy. And I'm like, what do you mean very interesting? He's like, oh, they're going to be crazy. And I'm like, I remember I looked him in the eye. I was like, dude, that is the worst idea. Like it's at the point where we're all going to be evaluating the balance of the game that just came out. And a huge part, it deserves more attention, but it's like 40 or 50% if you could attach an arbitrary number of the balance of the game is through the fucking maps. Like, it's gigantic. And these maps are bonkers. I played that one where the 3rd and 4th are your goals.
Our goals? That's an awesome map.
I instantly unchecked that. I was like, well, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And it was like, goodbye. And then Ulrena, I still play it, but I recognize that it's ridiculous. Like, I play it, I think, because I'm not playing good enough players yet for me to get really salty. But for right now, it's okay. But good fucking God. Like, some of these maps are so ridiculous. And that's a huge part of it.
What are your vetoes, Jeff?
Just that fucking 500 gold map one. That's the only one I've vetoed.
Steven, what about you? Do you know him off the top of your head?
I'm trying not to veto anything.
Okay.
He's Zerg, doesn't have to veto anything.
Good job. Well named.
All right. Let's talk about well, we talked about PvZ, we talked about PvP. Jeff, you want to talk a little bit more about PvP and just how you're approaching it?
Yeah. I myself, I mean, just like PvP of the past, like I'm trying to do various different things, but we're seeing fast expansions that are fairly viable. The Stargate path is really good because of the continued utility of the Oracle. The Phoenix obviously still being strong, and then late game, anything, all matchups, Protoss Air, very strong. Still very, very strong. But like early and mid game, I'm seeing a lot of very different compositions and then reactive compositions. I had Noni the other day. I went like very typical Blink Stalker Disruptor, and then he responded by going Blink Stalker and like 3 Stargate Void Ray, which in old PvP and probably still now would be ridiculous and bad because you can just storm an Archon Void Rays and they just absolutely disappear. But because you went the disruptor path, that's kind of where your gas went. And then I was like, oh shit, I need to go towards Templar, but only on 3 bases and with a super aggressive Blink Stalkers. He kind of kept my economy low, so I couldn't really afford a meaningful number of Storms or Archons. And that's just an example, but like the diversity in PvP, I think, is at an all-time high right now. Like, again, certainly there are 3 or 4 of the best things. And I do feel like the economy in particular has helped the Protoss versus Protoss matchup where we're not seeing games, obviously not in the Wings Liberty era, decided by 4 gates, but even in the HOTS era, not really decided by like a blink all in. Like, there's just so many answers. Photon Overcharge pylons are really, really good. I think everyone would agree with that. And one of the things...
fuck those things.
But in the PvP matchup, they've just made it so much more viable for the game to go to at least mid game, but certainly longer. And I think that's where it's been most interesting. So I'm over the moon excited with PvP in particular.
All right, Maro, what are your vetoes?
My vetoes, fuck, I don't know the names of the maps. Dude, I wish I had like 5 vetoes. Like, so many of those maps is unplayable against her. Like, Jesus Christ.
So, all right, I guess I need to...
Yeah, the map I didn't veto was... let's see here. What was the last good map? Do you guys know?
I like the orbital.
It's like one good map.
There's the 4-player one with the 2 watchtowers in the middle that's pretty large. I think most people are okay with that map.
Yeah, the third's kind of a bitch. The one with the Disruptor Rocks to seal off the third. Layer or something like that, right?
No, I don't know what that... Is there a way to find out what the...
Orbital
Ruins of Ceres.
Orbital Shipyard, I think that's the map I like.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Orbital Shipyard's great.
But it's not like it's not like I like the map. It's just that map is playable. So
you hate it the least, is what you're saying, right, Maro?
Yeah, pretty much.
The burning.
You look at this map pool. There's not a single like standard map, and I think that's the problem. Like, so they wanted to go crazy.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what Dave said he wanted.
They don't have any map that's like standard at all, and I think that's just so lame.
You know, the comment was made. Oh, I lied. Actually, I have Central Protocol also vetoed off, and that's just because I like the tile set thematically, but I actually can't see shit on that map, so I turned it off. I could not tell where to wall in. I couldn't see where like bases were. It's just the tile set really confused my brain for some reason.
Isn't the third base like impossible on that map?
Probably that too.
Okay. All right, let's see what else we have on the agenda, guys. We talked about the metas. We talked about the launch of Legacy of the Void. Let's talk about Dreamhack Winter real quick. I'll change the title, but Dreamhack Winter coming up. It's sponsored by Rockcat. It's going to be the Legacy of the Void tournament. And, yeah, and I'm pretty excited. This is going to be the first big tournament where we get to see Legacy of the Void action. We just had the SanDisk Invitational run by Total Biscuit, which, by the way, real quick, Jeff, how'd you think of what did you think of that tournament?
I think it's awesome. I love that Total Biscuit puts on those tournaments. Just quick hitter, fairly nicely produced online tournaments. Very cool. I thought the results. This will be that salty Protoss episode that people will refer back to and laugh when Protoss eventually wins something. But yeah, I like seeing the Protoss get absolutely shit on. Like, I think it was only Parting that took 2 maps off of somebody, and then that was like as close as we got. Was a little bit tough, but that's not John's fault or anything like that. And then I thought the triple cast was cool, but definitely something that like I think a triple cast is actually really hard to pull off, and then online it's super hard to pull off. So I would have wished upon them to like have practiced that beforehand or something like that, which is kind of a ridiculous thing because I'm guessing they weren't paid very much, and John's got so much other shit going on. So obviously this is not a major complaint, but when I was listening, I didn't feel like I was enriched by the triple cast in almost any way, shape, or form. It was like each guy trying to figure out when the other one's going to talk and then stepping on toes. And Kevin's at-home setup is like this gigantic mute button on the wall that he punches as hard as he can to unmute himself or something. But it's like, boom. Hey, yeah, I totally agree with that. And then like Nate and John's audio is like really fucking good. So just on a production level, my immersion boner was not anywhere near there. It was gone. So that part of it is my only complaint because the rest of it was awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree. I actually had thought the same thing about the TriCast. But yeah, the viewership was really high. I mean, he had over 20K, I think, for the last 2 days on that. Is that normal? Is it just John running an event, or?
Yeah, about that. I think it's boosted a little bit because Legacy of the Void launched, but I think if he ran a tournament in 3 months that was like that, I would speculate that it would be around there too.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like this is kind of like a weird complaint. In Heart of the Swarm and in Wings of Liberty, this is kind of not really relevant, but like in those two games, the music in those games worked really well for like background tracks. I feel like watching a cast with the not the Wings of Liberty, with the Legacy of the Void music on, I feel like that music is like way too intense. Like it felt kind of strange. I don't know if anybody even paid attention or cared.
No, I like the Legacy of the Void music. Like, I think it's cool.
I like
It's
the music
awesome.
more, but it feels like way more intense. Like it's kind of weird. Whereas like the other music worked really well for like background music. I feel like the Legacy of the Void music was like a little bit too intense for casting. I don't know.
I can agree with that.
It's like a random one-off.
Yeah.
I'll have to listen for that. I didn't notice, but I'll check.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into Dreamhack Winter. I sent you guys the link. I'm going to open it up now on the screen. So again, sponsored by Rock Hat, Dreamhack Winter, Legacy of the Void. Oh, I'm sorry, my headset just screwed up. I don't know what happened. Anyway, so wildcard invites are going to be, let me make sure it's on the screen. Parting, Solar, Bomber, TY, and Huck. That's going to be exciting to get to see Huck and Bomber in a tournament. I haven't seen Bomber compete in anything lately, other than the SanDisk thing.
Total Biscuits tournament.
But I imagine he's been taking a break, resting up. I don't know if he was playing in Pro League.
Wait, why is Huck invited?
What's that?
Why is Huck not invited, Morrow? How about that?
Why is he invited?
He's invited because this is a tournament that wants to have a good mix of players that bring in a lot of attention, and Huck's been playing in Legacy of the Void.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's the best Archon player on planet Earth.
You're goddamn right he is.
So yeah, you're right about that. He won that. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about groups. Group A, Parting, Bly, Probe. Some of these names actually not too familiar with. Parting, Bly, Probe, sort of Huck, Showtime. Group B, Solar, Elaser, Avocado, Semper, Raynor, Lambo. Group C, Bomber, Happy, Xanster, Puck, Petit Drogo, and Firekick. And Group D, TY, Inertio, Bunny, Majestic, Lilbo, TLO. I'm going to say that Group A and Group D are the two most exciting. What would you guys say?
I like the groups across the board. I do agree. I think one of the kind of funny that this occurred, by the way, big storylines going into this that makes Group D really exciting, is Lilbo, because that guy in his interview at BlizzCon said that he's been practicing for 6 months for basically this tournament. So it's like
he
wow,
doesn't do well here. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh.
he has to. It's not even his because of how good he is. It's got to be like maybe he loses in the finals, but anything else, it's going to be kind of like, oh, okay.
A big shitstorm for him.
You skipped out on BlizzCon, and then here you are, and I think it's a negative storyline. So I'm not like happy to say that this is going to be a talkable point, but it is. Unless he crushes it, then it's like, okay, Lilbo's the fucking god, because he's like, yeah, I know I'm going to win the next tournament, and then he does. So I mean, it's interesting, and people are going to be looking at that. But I can tell you too, like with this tournament, they really didn't, and I think part of the reason they invited Huck, I think Huck's a fantastic player, so I don't think it's a bad invite. I'm not sure what you're insinuating there, Morrow, but part of the reason they invited him is because they didn't want just a huge influx of Koreans that'll probably crush it, and the top four will all be Korean, and it's just like every other tournament ever. I think they want a good chance that there are Koreans in this tournament. There's obviously really good Koreans, but a good mix of people that can make it dramatic as well, and hopefully not necessarily a Korean versus Korean final is what they're hoping for.
Yeah, so about that storyline, it's one of the questions that we got today, and we hadn't. Wow, Jeff, you're frozen in a really awesome picture.
Oh, that is a good picture too. Oh my god! I'll just go ahead and talk, and I'll just keep making that sound.
Yeah, I actually went and got a picture for you for when this happened, in case the camera's.
Well, yeah, please. I mean, it's too late. It's frozen on the internet forever, but this is ridiculous.
There we go. We got you, buddy.
Only my boyfriends see that face. This is not.
All right, so let's move Mara up. There we go. Boom. Everything's fixed. Production is good to go. So, the Lilbo storyline, right? So one of the questions is, let me just find it so I say it correctly. So he says, and you're very vocal about Lobo's decision to practice Legacy of the Void instead of HOTS. You said it was illogical since the game was still in development. Lobo has already won 3K from the GPL. No matter what happens, that's more than he'd have won beating Life. Do you still think it was illogical to practice Legacy of the Void? I'm going to go with, I still stand by my statement that yes, it was illogical, because one of the things Lobo said was, hey, I'm focusing on the next, I'm taking this little bit of time, this month and a half, to practice for the sake of the next 5 months of my career, or 5 years of my career. And I think there's a good chance that Lobo does very well at this tournament, right?
Okay, well, go finish your point, sorry.
I think there's a good chance that he does really well at this tournament, but come season 1, if he's not dominating season 1, season 2, that kind of thing, and then just falls off with other foreigners alongside him, or he just falls and doesn't stand out, I will absolutely say that, yeah, I think it would, aside from the fact that I just think it was a poor sportsman decision to not practice for that tournament, I think that it's going to kind of just say, yeah, what did you really give up that for?
All right, let's just put this out there. So what he said in his interview is that he did not practice for BlizzCon, and then they kind of talked a little bit about that. Later, he came out and defended himself and said, look, BlizzCon is, I'm facing life fucking first. Even if I play the series of my existence and beat that, I will then play Innovation and probably get curb stomped 99%. I don't think that's an outlandish statement. I think everyone probably agrees with that. The mistake was that he publicly said, I am not practicing for BlizzCon. And then the additional mistake was he said, no, I'm practicing for the next 5 years of my career in these 3 months. Because all of that is stupid and bad. You don't publicly say at the grand championship of the year that you barely got in as the sole foreigner representative that I don't care, I'm not practicing, my odds are too little, I'm focusing on Legacy of the Void. You just don't say that. Right. You don't have to lie. They don't ask you the question, the question at the interview wasn't, are you practicing for BlizzCon? They don't get asked that question. That's something that he wanted to say, to put out there, because he wanted the excuse for people to understand that he doesn't care about it. Which is so dumb and bad PR-wise that it's just terrible. And he's a young guy. This is mistakes that all of us across the board have made at one point or another in our career. So that's fine. It's not like it's inexcusable. But it just makes this bad situation. So that's the one mistake. His choice to not focus on trying to beat Life and not try to beat Innovation after that, most likely, is not crazy, and that's totally fine. That's great. I guess it probably is super outlandish. But what I would have said is, if I was his manager or something like that, I'd say, yeah, focus on Legacy of the Void, but let's also spend a couple hours a day on HOTS. And he's like, well, the practice is really hard. That's fine. I know for a fact, TLO and some other guys messaged him and offered him practice, and he basically said, no, I'm just going to play a couple of warm-up games before the tournament, and that'll be my practice. So that all is also wrong, but that all should just be behind the scenes. If he gets destroyed by Life, which he did, we'd be like, wow, those are bad games. Life's really incredible. But now we're also talking about how he better do good at this next Legacy of the Void tournament, otherwise,
right.
What's going on. So that's how this should have been handled.
So this might sound kind of trite, Jeff, but I mean, do you think that for someone to be a champion, they need to approach? Yeah, I understand the odds against him, and I understand that honestly, if he had never said that and he got curb stomped like he did, no one would have been like, well, you fucked up, Lobo. It would have been like, well, you just faced Life. We understand it, dude, right? But do you think that just personally, as a champion, as someone being competitive, that's a bad sign if he did not approach this?
I think, honestly, that's the result of what it takes to be a champion in StarCraft. A lot of these guys are gamblers, but also they're so fucking methodical and, mathematical about... that's a funny word. But, what it takes to win. I mean, you should always believe that you have a chance. And I think, on some level, if Lobo practiced, he would believe he had a chance. So I'm not worried about that. I think this is just, an expression of what it takes to be a StarCraft champion. They're very matter-of-fact that way. I know This is a terrible example, but Greg was like this all the time. Even off-stream where people saw his worst, but in person he would say stuff like, no, I can beat him, and then he oftentimes would. And then he'd hit somebody else, be like, no, I cannot beat him. And then he fucking would beat Boxer in the extended series or whatever on stage, and we'd be like, Greg, see, you thought you couldn't beat him and you did. And he's like, he played fucking stupid. And you'd be like, oh, okay. Never mind.
So I have a question about Greg, I guess, just because we brought it up. It's slightly off topic. But did Greg... oh, I lost it. It was about the way he would approach those games that he would leave, right? Behind the scenes, did he ever tell you, like, he absolutely believed he had lost those games?
Yeah,
Or-
I mean, we obviously talked to him all the time because some of them are really, really bad, and Greg was the golden goose or whatever you want to say. He's had the biggest fan base and was just huge, and we were obviously very concerned and even arranged for him to meet with a sports psychologist, but that ended up being shit because the sports psychologist was a sports psychologist and not an esports psychologist. So they were like, "Tell me about how," and it just like didn't make any sense. Greg didn't benefit from it. But yeah, when he left those games, he would very matter of fact look at us and be like, "Well, they would have to make a critical error to fail and lose that game," and we would be like, "That's what happens in every single game of StarCraft ever, all the time." And you're on stage, you can do that. You're good enough to do that, and he just did not think in those regards. Like when he was playing against someone really good that he respected, and this is actually the irony of it. If he respected him and thought they were really good, basically the second he got behind, he thought he would have to all in, which oftentimes he was the worst at, or he would just leave because he can't beat them. But then when he didn't respect you and thought he was better than you, which was like most of every foreigner ever, he played his most epic games of all time because he would still get behind because Greg's a fucking robot and everyone knew how to cheat that. And then he would just like literally carve out this epic win coming back from behind, and we'd be like, "Greg, that was incredible! Like you were super behind, and you played it out and you won." And he'd be like, "Well, they're fucking horrible. They made terrible decisions, and that's why they were ahead because I thought they'd be too stupid to do that. And then I just won because I'm better." And it's like, "Oh shit, you're not savable." Okay,
got it. Okay, that was just something I've always wondered is, what his thoughts were behind the scenes after the fact.
Yeah,
in those situations. But yeah, DreamHack's coming up. It's exciting. It's again first Legacy of the Void. First Legacy of the Void DreamHack. I'm really excited to see it. Jeff, have they announced the talent for this yet?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, Jeff, you taking any trips in the near future?
I am not taking a trip. I'm home for a while.
Okay, cool. So let's see what else we got. We've talked about a few different things real quick. We won't even change the topic for it because it's just a real quick discussion. But Base Trade TV, as always, putting on awesome content. One of the things they're doing now is a TVT only tournament, and I'm actually surprised at how many people get upset about this. They've done it before. Like last.
Didn't somebody make a tournament where it was like no Protoss allowed? Did this happen?
That was me. I went to Graham and I'm like, "Hey, look, I want to put on a tournament, and I don't want any Protoss to be in it." So we called it like, I think we called it. Oh, what's that movie? With
You'll have to tell us. There's a lot of them.
Gary Busey's son is in it. Starship Troopers, and we called it like the Starship Troopers tournament, but then like the picture for it was Peter Griffin when he had the no girls allowed for it, and we changed it to no Protoss allowed. That was Graham's idea. But anyway, so yeah, that people got upset about that too. But anyway, there's a TVT tournament going on. I really like it. TVT for me and a lot of other people, it seems, is the most exciting mirror matchup, and it's going on, but people get really upset. So my thoughts on this are that first of all, it's Base Trade TV. They put on content. We get standard tournaments all the time. They've done some really cool tournaments. They had one where it was called Ire Chef, and they set up 3 pros, and you would like make your way through the bracket, and then if you made it through the bracket, you then got to choose which pro you faced, kind of like Iron Chef, right? So they do these kind of cool things. We have enough content. We have the Lycan League. We have ESL does their own leagues. These one-off kind of things, I think they're really cool. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on it.
I mean, it sounds fine to me. I mean, I guess people are what are the reasons people are giving for being mad? That it's exclusionary, or
I
what?
don't know. Like I saw, for the no Protoss allowed, people were very upset that Protoss was not allowed to participate. But as far as
I can understand the no Protoss allowed versus like the Terran one, because that kind of feels like a big fuck you to Protoss. Right. And if you're like a Protoss fan, it's like, "Oh, Protoss overpowered, like fuck you, this and
yeah." And in hindsight, like I kind of grew up in the StarCraft sense a little bit, and I realized it kind of sucks when your race gets shit on all the time, and that was during the height of Blink All Ins dominating everything.
Yeah, that was nuts.
But anyway,
Protoss always gotten shat on, man.
Have they?
Oh yeah, they're the hated race of StarCraft 2. I think.
Yeah, there were times. I mean, Broodlord and Fester, you saw a lot of Zerg hate.
Yeah.
And then there was a time when Terran, believe it or not, it seems like so long ago, Wings of Liberty, where Terran were really fucking strong, and like 1-1-1 builds were like reigning supreme and shit.
Yeah, there's been times where other people have. I mean, but think of those 2 examples you just gave. Both Wings of Liberty, and both 3 or 4 years ago.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's been a drought of of hate for everyone else. For Protoss has been strong.
Was Protoss the hated race in Brood War, or was there a hated race?
No, they never won championships in Brood War.
Huh.
Nobody. The thing is, nobody was really hated in Brood War because everything was so like sanctimonious and so just like everything is amazing and like the Koreans were
And
on
anytime, and I feel like anytime the balance started to swing in one direction, the Kespa map pool would very, very quickly reflect that, and
Yeah.
it would be remedied like pretty quickly.
Yeah.
All right, another off-topic topic. Do you think that when that happens in StarCraft, when we see a map kind of like the ones that you guys have been talking about today, do you think that in the middle of a season they should consider changing maps when one just is definitively like always vetoed or not good?
I don't know. The whole map thing, it just needs to, like, that was a lot of what we talked about at the summit too. It's just like, hey, whatever it is you guys are doing about maps, like the Team Liquid competitions are really cool. That was fun and good, I thought, but I don't know. I really feel like they should look at a 7 map pool system or 8 or whatever and have a variety so that you can veto what you don't want to play, but at the same time, we really need standard maps. Like, we're StarCraft players. We like our standard. We like our mono-e-mono 1v1 on a balanced map. Like, there's a reason why Lost Temple and these other maps have become like the maps that stuck around for fucking years, right?
Right.
Yes, the crazy stuff is fun, and people will always be like, "No, we need crazy stuff." And it's like, I fully agree with that. Let's have some crazy maps, but give us the option to play crazy maps, not force them on us. I mean, for fuck's sakes, Morrow hasn't even changed. He hasn't moved in like the last hour, and that's because he's frozen in anger and fear.
Oh wait, is Mara's picture Oh, they're all frozen.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
absolutely.
I get to use the one that I have for Mara then.
Am I frozen too?
Yeah,
She
you're all
didn't realize mine
Don't
was
worry.
frozen.
I got
Oh, wow.
a picture for you, Maro.
It's like I'm not even here, like him.
Morrow didn't even like he didn't notice that Morrow was frozen.
I thought it was just being Maro.
Just doesn't blink. He just fucking sits there and does not blink.
Oh man! All right, so we're gonna do questions now. It's everyone's favorite time of the show. I'm the only one that's moving. It's kind of weird. So first off, we'll start with you, Maro, since I thought you were dead for so long and I feel
That's a
bad.
good picture.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Maro, real quick, I want to ask you something, okay? So if you can't see it, your picture is the one where you won that. I believe it was an IEM, and you had the Razor Girls walking with you.
I remember this video.
Yeah,
How, honest to God, not trolling, not trying to be
How
funny.
irreparable.
How did you feel in that moment? Like, what were your thoughts going through your head when they were like, "Okay, you're going to walk out on stage with these two girls, arm in arm"? What were you thinking?
Oh, I was like, when I heard about it, I thought it was like, well, that's fucking awful. Like, what a terrible idea, right? That's just super awkward for everybody. But when I was walking up on the stage, I mean, I didn't let that bother me at all. I was super happy and everything. I know some people like look at the pictures and so on, and they're like making fun of me, like, "Oh, you're such an awkward nerd," and so on. Like, what were you thinking and so on? But it's like,
I more feel-
it wasn't our choice or anything. I was just thinking about that I had just won the championship.
Yeah.
And I couldn't care less, to be honest.
Honestly, I didn't think when I first saw the video, I wasn't thinking like, "Oh, awkward Maro." I more thought like awkward event overall, and I'm glad that doesn't really happen anymore.
Yeah.
All right, so anyway, starting with you, Maro, what campaign mission? Now, if saying that like the title of the mission would give something away or something like that, you just kind of talk around it. But what mission did you like in the campaign the most?
Well, I just really like it when it's difficult. Is this like no spoilers, so I can't talk about it at all?
I mean, you
Correct.
could say like, so there's the mission where you have to defend the three Nexus.
Oh,
and
okay,
you're being
okay.
attacked like from all different angles. You can say things like that.
I found it like the, what should I call it? Like the mobile level really hard.
Okay.
When it's like top left against bottom right. And
Yeah.
we were just, fighting it, all that, and there were objectives to decide and so on. Do you know which one I'm talking
Yep.
about?
Are you talking about the one with the moving platform?
No, not at all.
Which one are you talking about?
No, so it's like it's spoiler if I tell you.
All right, we'll save the favorite campaign mission question for when we do the spoiler episode to actually go in depth and discuss the stuff like that. I mean, unless Jeff or Steven, you guys have one that you think you can tell that was your favorite without
Favorite
spoiling
mission?
it. Yeah.
My favorite mission was the last mission in the epilogue because it came down to like the final second. Actually, I thought I died, and then I won, and it took fucking forever and was stressful and fun. And there was a moment where like my base was completely gone, so I just had to dive on this objective to try and win. And I did it on stream, and it was really exciting for everyone. It was just very cool experience.
Cool. Steven, what about you?
Fuck, I didn't prepare for this. I don't know if I had like a particular favorite one. The things that stand out for me the most were the FMVs. Or, like, so like I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
I liked all the missions a lot. I guess I spent a lot of there were a few missions that I spent a lot of time on because I was trying to get all the achievements on Brutal, and some of those were pretty difficult. The one where you had to fly around and destroy the three. Oh, any mission involving the one Protoss guy that you meet, I like those missions because that guy's pretty funny. He was like the only Protoss with like real personality. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Wow, spoiler, but yeah.
How's that a spoiler? Like, there's fucking posters and shit of him. We know he's in the game.
He's pretty funny. I like that dude. He's a cool guy.
He is.
And he doesn't afraid of anything, so.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. One thing I do want to talk about when we do the spoilers is like the very, very, very end of the game. So we'll save that for a month from now. Let me see what else we got. Let's see. Nope, we're not touching that.
Edgelord Malarak. Yeah, maybe. That might be a way to describe him.
Steven, what are your pins? Do you think Roach Ravager is overpowered?
I feel like Ravagers should build off Lair. I don't know why Ravagers can be made on hashtag. That just seems really super unnecessary. I don't even know if that would fix them or balance them, but
okay.
I don't know. They feel still pretty fucking strong.
Jeff, playing against them, do you feel that way?
Roach Ravager?
Yeah.
I don't think Roach Ravager itself is necessarily too strong. I think because, well, okay. I guess I do. But let me just temper it with, like, when I fight against it, and if I'm prepared and scouted, it's not that big of a deal. But it's so strong in the meta because I have to take into account that they could very easily just go Roach Ravager and just run me over. So that dictates and narrows down the builds that I can do. And then that really empowers the other openings that Zergs can do. So I feel like I'm confined and dictated, whereas the Zerg is just like, well, in theory I could do that. I'm not even like trying to trick you into thinking I am. It's just that I could. Imagine if there was like the threat of DTs at that time of the game, like super early, all the time, and you just had to be worried about it. I mean, I guess you could be worried about DTs all the time, but if you have overlords and you're scouting and lings and stuff, you should have a pretty good idea. And if you just have an overseer.
All right. So we're gonna have 3 real quick rapid fire questions, and then we'll be done for the night, guys. Morrow, is there any one unit you think is about to get the Nerf gun?
I think the Nidus with the immortality. I think they will remove that.
All right, Jeff.
What's the question?
Do you think there's any unit that's just destined for the Nerf gun, guaranteed?
I don't know. I don't know. But I really actually hope that they buff things as opposed to nerf things in Legacy of Void. I think Legacy of Void is like really explosive and everything. There's a lot of things that are really powerful and super strong. I would like it if they found a way to buff things to make it more of a balance as opposed to nerf things and make it balanced.
Yeah.
I think that's something that I've come around to in Legacy of Void more than any other game.
I like that idea. I do. Steven, what about you?
The Viper anti-air spell will probably get nerfed. That's insanely good. It's so good. It makes air impossible in ZBZ. It's so good against Liberators. Even against Protoss stuff, like, it's pretty good. Like, yeah.
The problem
I
with
had a
stuff
mothership
stuff
die.
like that, like the Viper bomb, even though it's like way too strong, the issue is that that's like late game, and late game stuff never gets balanced unless it was the carrier, which you could just rush to. So
Well,
that
I guess
will
so.
maybe never get balanced, and we will just end up with Zerg being the defender as the meta game for all of these years. Just remember Broodlord Infestor or Swarm Host. Like this stuff that doesn't get fixed. Same with the Protoss against Terran. I mean, people consider that balanced, and it was all about Terran just killing the Protoss before late game.
Sure.
All right. Let's see. I'll answer this one. Everything. The question is whether or not everything shown at the summit was, or everything discussed at the summit was shown at BlizzCon. The answer is no. I'd say the majority of the stuff you guys have seen. There are still a few things that they've discussed that haven't been shown, but I think the shit that I said you'd shit your pants about, I think that was all announced. That was all released for the most part. Let's see. All right, here's a kind of nonsense, no, that wrong word. Here's a fun question, I guess. Maro, if you weren't a streamer or pro gamer, what would you do as a career? What was your dream?
The dream job. I would wanna be the game designer. David Kim. Have his job.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think it's really fun. I think it would fit me.
All right. Jeff, what about you?
Again, what was the question? Sorry.
If you were not in esports, if you weren't playing video games or streaming or anything of that, what would you do for a living?
Oh, damn. I'd be an English teacher at a high school.
There we go. Would you be also like the debate coach?
I would coach football. I would coach debate. I would go home and play with my models still, probably.
The dream.
The dream.
Yeah. Yeah. Steven, what about you?
I have no fucking idea.
No?
I really don't know. I don't know.
Be a musician?
Sure.
All right. All right, guys. Well, that does it for us on the late game episode 48. Guys, thank you all for coming on. I'm sorry that your cameras are frozen. I might have to save this picture of you, Jeff. It's pretty awesome. But Maro, thank you for coming on as our guest. We'll start with you. What's going on with you?
Oh, I might not stream for a few more days because taking some time off. After that, I'll be back streaming though, as Adorable at Twitch TV/Morrow. That's pretty much the only shout out I got since I didn't qualify for DreamHack. Sad face.
I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry. Jeff, what's going on with you?
I got a Warhammer tournament this weekend, so just send me your energy. Otherwise, I'm gonna do a D&D show later today called Swan Song. Streaming Legacy of the Void as per usual, and that's about it. Super excited for the fucking Star Wars movie next month, and just recharging and getting ready for the next bout of esports, man.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you for coming on, Jeff. Guys, make sure you give Jeff a follow. And Steven, what about you? What's going? Oh wait, Jeff, are you streaming after this?
I'm gonna eat lunch and then stream, so about 3 o'clock. For a couple hours.
All right, Steven?
Yeah, I'm just playing StarCraft here pretty much all the time now.
Awesome. Well, gents, it's been great having you on. Thank you all for tuning in. If you like the show, please hit that follow button, and we will see you all next week. You guys take it easy.